right. So we're going to review now all of genetics. We started off this unit with looking at cells. Cells are the basic building blocks of all living organisms. And we are really focusing in on the nucleus of that cell because inside the nucleus is where we store the DNA. And we have a bunch of DNA all wound up upon each other, making these really dense bodies called chromosomes. Now, if we zoom in on that DNA and we look at just one portion of DNA that codes for a trait, that's what we call a gene. If we look even further into DNA, we look closer, we see that it's made up of 4 nitrogen or nucleotide bases called thymine, guanine, adenosine, and cytosine. And they pair up in a specific way. A and T are always partners, and G and C are always partners. Now, because of that pairing, they make this really cool spiral double helix shape. And notice in the colors, A and T are always partners and G and C are always partners as well. Deoxyribonucleic acid is the blueprint that creates all living organisms because it determines the order of amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. Now, those proteins are what give you and I the traits that we see on the outside, okay? We have here, again, amino acids putting together make proteins. Then proteins make cells, cells make tissues, tissues to organs, and then finally all these organs together make an organism. When we look at this again, those proteins are going to what makes the traits that we see on the outside, and this is what's called the phenotype, the expressed traits. Some of these might be dominant or more common. Some might be recessive or less common. Some might be passed on from your parents to you and through your DNA. That's what we call inherited traits. If it's a trait that you were not born with, it didn't come from your parents, but it came through you actually living life, having different life experiences, then that is what is called acquired traits. We looked at reproduction. We know that sexual reproduction requires 2 parents. It takes a lot more energy, a lot more time, but it gives you a lot more diversity in your population. That's fine, Jonathan. Asexual reproduction is when you have 1 parent, and it's a lot quicker, a lot less energy, and you're making clones of the actual parent. There's no diversity in your offspring, so that's a little dangerous because if your environment changes, your offspring are less likely to survive. However, if you have a diverse population of offspring, then if the environment changes, you have a higher chance of at least one of them surviving. We looked at the genotypes of these offspring, and we were able to determine the possibility of them having either homozygous, heterozygous, etc. alleles using that Punnett square of the next generation. Now, we used alleles in the Punnett square or forms of the genes, and we represented those using letters. If the letters were different or the alleles were different, we call it heterozygous. If they're the same, it's homozygous. If it's capitalized, it's dominant. If it's lowercase, it's recessive. Okay. Now, we just did this for our warm-up, and some of you were slightly off, so make sure you have your ears open right now. Make sure this is in your notes. A genotype is the gene combination, the genetic code. You cannot see this because it's in the DNA. The phenotype, though, is what's expressed on the outside, the actual traits that we get to see. When we look at those traits that are determined are found in your genes, okay? Now, those alleles that we've been talking about are just a form of the gene. Again, we've been using letters to represent alleles. If it's a dominant form of the gene or a dominant allele, it's capitalized, or lowercase for a recessive form of the gene. We know that the ribosome is a very important organelle because it will actually use the genetic code to create the protein that we want. So again, just a little recap. We have information from our genes that's going to the ribosomes for them to make the protein, and that protein is what give you and I our traits. Okay? Now, how does this happen? Well, inside the cell, there's two processes that help this. There's transcription and translation. Transcription is when we make a copy. Messenger RNA is a copy of just one strand of DNA. It's not a piece of DNA, it's a copy of DNA. And it's able to leave the nucleus because it's really small and it's short. It's really easy to go out to the ribosome to be translated. This green thing here is the ribosome, and it's going to read this message that RNA has and put all of these like blue beads, which are amino acids, in the right order to make that protein. Remember, the protein is what gives you your traits. So this is where this occurs. Again, we have transcription. We just make a copy of one side of the DNA. That gives us mRNA. Translation is when the ribosome uses or translates that message to make that protein. Now, sometimes the genetic code changes. And if the DNA sequence changes at all, that's what we call a mutation. Sometimes a mutation can affect what protein is being created, affecting the organism. Okay? So again, a mutation is a change in a gene within an organism, and that protein is what gives you and I our traits. So if that mutation changes what protein is created, it could affect the organism in three ways. It could be helpful, it could be harmful, or it could be neutral. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your entire genetics unit. Any questions? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our first break. After our break, what we're going to do is go through the answers of that genetic exam review sheet that you were supposed to finish by last night, 8 o'clock. Ready? Let's take our first break. Get up, stretch, get something to snack on. 3 minutes. Resume recording. Fifth period, will you be mad if I go the very beginning and go a little bit fast? Sorry. Number 6. I'm sorry. What was it, number 5 we started with? Number 5, homozygous, all of the alleles are the same. Heterozygous is when they're different. For those of you watching on the video, I'm going quick right now, but I will slow down later. The genotype to have yellow skin is 2 lowercase b's. If I have an uppercase B, it's going to be blue. 7 uppercase letters are dominant. Number 8, lowercase letters are recessive. Some of you still haven't fixed your answers. Make sure you do that. Number 9, I'm going to have a capital A on the left 2 boxes and 2 lowercase a's on the right 2 boxes. What percentage is going to have amber fur? Well, 50%. If I go back to that Punnett square here, I see that half of them have that capital A, which is amber fur. So that's 50%. 2 out of the 4 boxes is 50%. The phenotype of that very first box, again, the very first box is this top left-hand corner right here. That's the very first box. The phenotype here is amber fur. The genotype is big A, little a. Remember, genotype are the genes. Phenotype is the trait, what you see. So number 11 is amber fur. Number 12 is big A, little a. All right, I'm caught up. Any questions so far? Fernando, make sure you're actually answering your questions. Okay. And we are on number 12. Let me peep over here. Yep. Go ahead and answer this. Mia also, number 12. Here we go. Number 13. What percentage is heterozygous? Well, again, 2 out of the 4 boxes have different alleles. The big A, little a, that's heterozygous. So it's going to be 50%. Okay. I'm looking at some of your responses. Some of you need to actually put a response. Some of you need to fix it. It should be 50%. Okay. Number 14. What do the combinations inside the boxes represent? Well, that's the possible genetic outcome of the offspring or the next generation for this one here. Okay. Questions for me? Okay, Fernando, make sure you're keeping up. There we go. I see. No, that's somebody else. Fernando, we're answering these questions right now as a class. All right. Annabella, make sure you fix your answer. Okay. Again, when you're all said and done, this is going to be a great resource for you to help you on that final exam. Okay. All right. Annabella, are you with us? Okay, so then fix your answers, please, on the formative. This is number 14. There we go. Thank you. Possible genetic outcomes of the next generation. Ahmed, you need to fix yours as well. Okay. Fernando, fill it in. Possible genetic outcome of the offspring. Okay. Number 15. Now, if I'm going too fast, let me know. Also, I will go back to any questions you might have missed. Okay. Number 15. The letters across the top and the left side are the genotypes of the parents or the alleles of the parents. Good. I see a lot of you fixing your answers. Good. Mia, don't forget to get this part. Some of you just put genotypes. Make sure you tell me of what. It's of the parents. Okay, so add something about the parents being there. Good. Okay, keep going, Annabella. We're on number 15 now. Don't stop. There we go. Good. Make sure you add of the parents. This is a big deal. This is the parents. The parents are on the top and side. The offspring is on the inside the boxes. Okay. All right, number 16. This time you had to come up with the parents' genotype on the outside. You will have a problem like this on the exam, but instead of coming up with both parents, you only have to come up with one. So in order to get this combination, you should have big T, little t for both parents. Big T, little t on the top and the side. Okay. Fernando, make sure we're answering this. Are you with me, Fernando? There you are. Okay. You're answering these questions. Okay, number 17. Number 17, it couldn't really fit in that box, could it? So I used different colors. Okay. Now the nucleus obviously is not inside or outside the nucleus. So you could have said, some of you said in the cell. That's good. Okay. Now what's the function? Well, it holds the DNA. It's the control center of the cell. The mitochondria provides, it's outside the nucleus and provides energy to the cell. Now, for those of you who are all done 100% with your worksheet, thank you for being patient. While we're waiting for people to fix theirs or fill it in, you could be double checking your notebook, okay? Making sure that you have everything ready as we're going through this, okay? Cell membrane or cell wall protects the cell and gives it structure. Now, the way I was able to type in here, see a couple of you like trying to figure it out. There's a T on the left side of the formative. When you hit the T, then you're going to go in this box and click it, and then a text box opens up. The way to change the color is on the top left. There's a little like, I forget, I think it's a circle or it's a scribble line. You can change the color that way. Okay. Good. I see a lot of you now texting. Good. Elijah, fill it in correctly, please. Annabella, go ahead and fill this in. Cell wall and membrane. Again, it's outside the nucleus. It protects the cell and gives it structure. And then ribosomes, again, are outside the nucleus, but they translate or they create the protein. So Lila, make sure you're with us on number 17. And we're good. Mia, make sure you're staying with us. Actually, I see you on there. I wonder why I don't see you on this side. Oh, I do now. Good. Good job, you guys. Okay. Now I know this one has a lot of information, so I will come back to this one when we're all done. Okay. All right. So pause right now if you're not done. We'll come back to it, I promise. Number 18. The 4 nitrogen bases, cytosine, guanine, adenosine, and thymine. Good. Cytosine, guanine, adenosine, and thymine. This is number 18. Annabella, go ahead and fill in number 18. Jocelyn, you need to fix yours, okay? And Mia, go ahead and fill it in. Now, these guys pair up in a specific way. C and G are partners, and A and T are partners, okay? Good. Annabella, are you still with us? I'm moving on. We're going to pair up again. Oops, I skipped one. We're going to pair up AT together. Some students remember this spells at, and they remember the other one because it's like Google Classroom, GC. I always remembered it rigid letters and then curvy letters pair up. But whatever way you want to do this. Okay? So Ahmed, fix yours. All right, good job. Transcription, number 20. Transcription, again, is when one side of DNA is copied to make RNA. Yes, Ethan.
Can I just put transcription as half of DNA?
No, make sure you have the keyword copy. Copy is a major keyword. Okay. Good, and I'm looking at what you guys have written in here. So Samori, fix your definition. That was straight from Google. And then Mia, make sure we get that in there. There we go. Good, Jocelyn, we're gonna fill that in, right? Annabella, make sure we get that answer in there. Okay. Then translation is when a ribosome translates the message to make the protein. So I put extra words. You don't have to have all the words I put, but I was just pointing out that you put the correct order of amino acids together to make the protein. If you said the ribosome uses the messenger RNA to make the protein, that's fine. Okay. Annabella, are you here? I'm going to mark that you left if I don't hear from you. Annabella, are you here? Going once. Going twice. Annabella, oops, you guys can see my work here. I'm going to go over here. Annabella, are you here? Ooh, I was about to mark that you left. Okay, so Annabella, that's your final warning. All right. 22, mutation is when a gene or genetic code changes. So we're on number 22. We only have a few more, and then we're going to take our final break and let you guys do that quizzes. All right. We then have inherited traits. These are what you get from your parents. So they're passed down from parent to offspring. Good. I'm looking at number 23, Annabella, Jonathan, Mia. Let's go ahead and fill this in. Number 23, traits that are passed down from parent to offspring through DNA. Good. Thank you for being on task, you guys. Much better. Okay. All right. Acquired traits. You're not born with these. These are developed through life experiences. So, traits that you develop through life, they're not from your parents. Okay. So, again, this is number 24. Annabella, Fernando, Mia. Go ahead and fill this in, please. And we have one question left. Yahoo! If you're confident with your definition of gene, while we're letting the few of us catch up, if you want to go ahead and start that quizzes, make sure you hit submit on this exam review worksheet and you can work on your quizzes. Otherwise, we only have one more question to go over, and that is defining a gene. Okay. So number 25, a gene is just a portion of DNA that codes for a specific trait. All right. Are there any others you want me to go back to? You can put it in the chat box for me. If you are done, you're happy, then you can use this information to update your notebooks. You could get started on that quizzes. Make sure you submit this assignment at the end. Okay. Any requests? Otherwise, I'm just going to go to number 17 and then we'll take our final break. All right, here's number 17. Okay. 17 was the lengthiest one. So if you are all done, we're going to do our quizzes next. We have about 15 minutes left in class. You are required to do quizzes at least once right now in class. That's your requirement for today. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take our final break. We have 3 minutes. I'm going to leave it on this screen though, so that if you need to, you still have it. Okay. All right, here we go. 3 minutes. We have 12 minutes left in class, and you must finish at least once the quizzes. Okay. This is your classwork requirement for today. Okay. As you're going through there, note which ones you're not sure on. Do you have that information in your notebook? You must do it at least once. You can do it as many times as your heart desires. The quizzes is due today in class. However, on the website, it's open until Wednesday at 10 p.m. So you have to get it done now in class. Today, what you're going to do is complete the quizzes at least once. Your goal formative, the exam review worksheet, make sure that when it's done that you submit it, okay? And if you still have time, double check that your notebook is ready to go for the exam. And did you finish that STEM scopes assignment? Did you do that? Question mark. Okay. So go ahead. We have about 10 minutes left in class, which is plenty of time for you to finish the quizzes at least once. Okay. All right.